and happy Tuesday from Great Yarmouth. So just out on my easy run. I do a 4 mile, really easy pace, not even looking at my watch. It's now taken a week, so really not long to go until Frankfurt Marathon now. So a little roundup of the training so far this week. I did the same again as last week. I went for a run with Sam, did the usual 9 miler last night. Had a bit of catch up. She had a great run at Valencia, did 69 minutes, which is, yeah, it's crazy to think that it's a minute a mile pace quicker than my PB, so I'm thinking I'm doing about 6:20s. To run at 5:20s for a half marathon is really some going, so it kind of puts it into perspective a little bit there, how quick it was. So well done to Sam. I'll check in with a few more running updates later in the week, but we're actually stopping at a lovely hotel called the Pier, which was a lot of the filming for the Danny Boyle yesterday Beatles film was filmed there, which my clients were telling me about before I went to visit. So I'm actually stopping in the hotel now, which is quite nice, and it's got a lovely sea view, so I'm going to enjoy the next couple of nights. I'll check back in later in the week. Now Thursday, and just doing this from Frankfurt, so just landed this morning. Had a really early flight this morning, which was to wake up about 2:30 UK time. The flight was at 6 AM from Birmingham, and got into Frankfurt just about 8:30, 9 German time. And just come out for a little walk down to my session. So I'm going to do a little session in one of the parks. I'm just waiting for my GPS to load, and it's turned to green now, so it'll be good to go when we start the session. So I did plan on doing this sort of 6 per 3 minute session a little bit early in the week, so probably Tuesday or Wednesday, but I didn't get around to it on Wednesday, so took yesterday off. So I had a lot of driving to do. So I decided to do it today. I should recover well in time for the marathon at the weekend, so I'm going to have Friday off, tomorrow off, and then do a little shakeout run on Saturday. So there's the marathon are organising a free Pretzel run, so there's a good incentive there to do a little 5k shakeout, and then I'll have a Pretzel afterwards, so I'm looking forward to that. Probably more of a Pretzel than the run, and then obviously picking up the number and going for the marathon on Sunday, so I'll check in later. That's halfway in now, so 3 reps out for 6. I feel like I got a bit warmed up on that last rep, so the first 2 were a bit of a struggle. My legs are going well now, so those last 3 should feel a little bit easier. Finish line for tomorrow is inside this amazing hall. There's the podium. Good evening. It's now Monday evening, post-marathon, just checking in with a few thoughts. The day after a race and how things went, what went well, what didn't go so well. So yeah, I'll start with the positives. First of all, my time was 3:07, which in the grand scheme of things, it's probably about 15 minutes short of where I expected to be and where I'd trained to be. But without making too many excuses or anything, it was a very warm day. It was the first excuse, I suppose. It was about 15 degrees at the start line, warming up to 20 degrees to 22 degrees by the time we finished. So it was very tough conditions, and probably something on the start line I did think after I'd done a mile warm-up and was already a lot warmer than I'd expect to be than after just doing a warm-up at really easy pace. I wouldn't expect to be sweating as much as I would be. So that was probably a warning sign then to say, should I just take it a little bit easier and maybe try and get something low threes or just aim for sub 3 rather than 250? But I made the decision. I decided I'd train for a 250. I wanted to go and run at that pace at 6:30 a mile, see how it felt. Even if I got to say 20 miles and really struggled at the end, I thought, I've made that decision, I'm going to go with it. Which I suppose in hindsight, with my result of 3:07, I maybe could have run closer to that 3-hour mark if I would have gone out at say 6:40s or 6:50 pace, but I still think I would have wilted in the heat around about 20 miles anyway. So going back to what actually happened in the race, so first sort of 10, 13 miles felt really comfortable. My watch was slightly out to the mile markers, well actually the kilometre markers as we were in Europe, and yeah, I was going well. So to my watch, when I went through halfway, it was through what 13.1 miles was on my watch, was around about 125, which was spot on for 250 on my watch, but obviously I was around 126.30 on the chip of the split time, so that was sort of equating to 253, 254 sort of pace if I could have kept that up. But I know it is difficult to keep that pace up, and I usually do positive split a marathon, so I run the first half quicker than the second half usually, and it is quite an art to try and negative split a marathon or run it at even splits. So I was sort of at that time going through halfway, I was thinking maybe 255's on, I can ease off a little bit and come in at 255. But it really hit me around sort of 16 to 17 miles. I mean, looking back at my splits that was when I really started to slow down. So I was slowing down from sort of 6:30s on my watch pace to sort of 6:40s, and then a couple of high 6s up at nearly the 7-minute mile mark. That was around about between 16 and 18 miles. So I think a couple of things may have led to this. So on the course, I was quite with the drink stations on the course, it was quite busy at some of the drink stations, so a couple of them early on I didn't take a drink, and obviously didn't have enough fluids and water. As by the time the later drink stations were coming, and this was by the time I started walking and jogging between each of the drink stations, I was taking on a sort of 2 or 3 cups of water at each drink station and just walking through them, making sure I was getting my fluids on so that I'd make it to the end, because at that point my race time had gone out the window. I wasn't going to PB, I wasn't going to get the time I wanted to, and I probably wasn't going to get under 3 hours as well. So it was just about trying to get to the finish line, and character building really, I suppose, was the main aim of the exercise, to go from where you're really struggling at 16 miles, we're still around 10 miles to go in the marathon. It does take a lot of courage and determination to get to the end when you're about spent. So 10 miles is a long way to run when you've when you're fresh legs anyway. But if you're sort of, your legs are going a bit, you're a bit dizzy, lightheaded, it is quite tricky and a bit scary as well at times to try and get to the finish line intact and get home safely. So that was a positive. I got back, and to be honest, 3:07 is still a really respectable marathon time. It's not my slowest one, it's not by any stretch of imagination, and a lot of people would be really happy with a 3:07, so I can't be too disappointed with
with getting a 3:07. I was sort of 10 minutes out from what I'd have been happy with, but to get that time, get home, and I think I'll learn a lot from it in terms of how to run on a hot day, maybe adapting your race strategy to suit the conditions. And to be honest, the biggest thing I was happiest about was the training block that I did. So in total, it was around 18 weeks of training block where I slowly built up my mileage from sort of 40 to 50 miles a week up to about that 60 miles a week bracket for the first 6 weeks of a block. And then I started to add in more sessions as the block went on to work on that speed. So over a block, I managed to do a 5k PB. So I knocked around 30 seconds off my 5k. I didn't quite manage, I had 3 goes at trying to get a half marathon PB, but something didn't quite click on the day, whether it was a little niggle had popped up. The first attempt I did at London, I was only 20 seconds or so outside of my PB, but I had a little niggle in my adductor that had flared up halfway through that race. I then tried again at Nottingham and did a 1:24, but that was sort of on the back of the 2 weeks training out in Spain, so I think I still probably had a bit of that training in my legs. And then I had to go at Bournemouth half, but it probably wasn't the right course to do it, and sort of took the GoPro round and wanted to run it at that 1:25, which would have been my marathon pace. So I've done 3 solid half marathons over a training block, a 5k PB, and I think I've proved that I can run them sort of 70-mile weeks and without getting any niggles really, which is really positive and something I can take on into the next marathon block. So yeah, that's everything I had on my post-marathon reflection. So let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the Frankfurt Marathon sort of 6-part series, as it were. I'll leave you with a few clips from the race, from throughout the week, and yeah, let me know if you want to check in on any of my training coming up over the winter or for my next marathon block in the comments. Thanks for watching.